Today we're diving into one of the most celebrated herbs in traditional medicine, Astragalus membranaceus, often called the herb of immortality. While most people associate astragalus with ancient Chinese herbalism, this plant's healing legacy extends far beyond China. Traditional medicine systems in Korea, Mongolia, Russia, Iran, Turkey, and even Native American tribes like the Lakota and Cheyenne all used astragalus to promote vitality, recovery, and immunity. But it was in ancient Chinese alchemy that astragalus earned its mythical reputation as a life-extending tonic in the pursuit of longevity and, some say, even immortality. And here's where ancient wisdom meets modern science. Today, research confirms that astragalus supports immune modulation, neuroprotection, blood sugar balance, tumor suppression, and even cellular anti-aging. In this video, we'll explore its history, chemistry, biological actions, and the modern research that shows how astragalus might help slow cellular aging and support a longer, healthier life. Hi, my name is Bradley. I've been practicing Chinese medicine, herbology, and functional medicine for over 13 years. I've treated over 10,000 patients and have been biohacking my own health for longevity for more than 20 years. First, let's briefly talk about the history of this unique plant, astragalus, known in Chinese as huang qi, which grows across the northern hemisphere. Its first formal record appears in the Shen Nong Ben Sao Jing, which in English is titled the Divine Farmer's Classic of Materia Medica. This text is considered the earliest complete herbal medicine compendium in existence, compiled around 200 CE during the late Eastern Han Dynasty. The text attributes the discovery of astragalus to Shen Nong, translated as the Divine Farmer, a semi-mythological figure believed to have lived between 2852 and 2070 BCE. According to legend, Shen Nong taught the ancient Chinese agriculture, herbal plants, and was said to have personally tasted hundreds of herbs to understand their effects, reportedly even sampling 70 toxic plants in a single day. This myth symbolizes the generations of empirical experimentation that formed the foundation of traditional Chinese medicine and honors the countless individuals who studied the medicinal properties of plants long before modern pharmacology existed. Astragalus is a chemically rich plant containing three major classes of bioactive compounds: sapponins, flavonoids, and polysaccharides. While all three contribute to health, sapponins, particularly a group called astragalusides, are the most studied. Sapponins are amphipathic molecules, meaning they can interact with both fat and water, allowing them to easily influence cell membranes. They're known for their anti-tumor, immune-boosting, and blood sugar-regulating effects. Astragalus contains over 160 unique sapponins called triterpene sapponins, including astragalusides 1 through 4, isoastragalusides, and cycloastragenol. Among these, astragaluside 4 and cycloastragenol are considered the most active compounds behind astragalus' longevity effects. One important note: triterpene sapponins are poorly extracted with water because they have limited water solubility, which means a simple tea will yield only a small amount of these compounds, something to remember when we discuss tea versus tincture or standardized extracts later. Let's discuss the physiological and therapeutic effects of astragalus. 1. Anti-aging and telomere biology. One of the most intriguing areas of astragalus research relates to cellular aging and telomere maintenance. A 2013 study titled The Telomerase Activator TA-65 elongates short telomeres and increases health span of adult and old mice without increasing cancer incidence, investigated a purified astragalus extract known as TA-65, which contains cycloastragenol as its active ingredient. To understand this topic, we need to spend a little time discussing what telomeres are. Telomeres are protective DNA protein caps at the ends of chromosomes made of a specific repeating sequence of DNA that defines them as a telomere, differentiating them from the DNA contained in the chromosome. A chromosome is an X-shaped structure that is made from a long strand of DNA that's wound upon itself. This structure is formed to protect the DNA strand from breakage or other damage in the cellular environment. Although this structure is a robust way to secure DNA, the ends of this structure are still susceptible to damage, and this is why telomeres are important. They prevent chromosomal ends from being damaged or from sticking to other chromosomes. They also prevent the ends of the chromosome from being recognized as damaged DNA, thereby avoiding unwanted DNA repair processes. Again, a telomere acts as a protective end cap that signals the chromosome is intact and healthy. Each time a cell divides, chromosomes need to unwind to expose the DNA they contain to transmit their instructions. During this unwinding process, telomeres shorten slightly as some of their repeats are lost. When telomeres become critically short, cells stop dividing and should be killed and removed by the immune system. This doesn't always occur, and sometimes cells enter a senescent state, still alive but non-functional. These zombie cells accumulate as we age, driving inflammation and degeneration. The body has a method to repair telomeres to extend the number of replications a cell is capable of before it's either removed or becomes senescent. This is accomplished by the enzyme telomerase, which rebuilds telomeres, returning them to their proper length. In most adult cells, telomerase activity is minimal, meaning that once telomeres begin to shorten, the body's ability to repair them is weak and becomes less effective with age. The repair still happens, just not fast enough to keep up. Over time, this declining restoration limits how many times a cell can divide, slowly contributing to the aging process. But boosting telomerase isn't a simple solution. Too little and cells age prematurely, too much and the risk of uncontrolled growth increases. As with nearly everything in biology, longevity depends on balance. The 2013 study demonstrated that Ta65 intake increased the levels of telomerase, the enzyme responsible for rebuilding telomeres, by upregulating telomerase reverse transcriptase, TERT, specifically the mouse form mTERT, as this study used mice. The increased expression of mTERT rescued shortened telomeres and improved biomarkers of health span, such as immune and blood cell function, without increasing telomere length, beyond normal physiological limits. Let's take a moment to discuss the graph from the study. The graph is divided into two age groups. Panels A and B show results from 1-year-old mice. Panels C and D show results from 2-year-old mice. In both cases, the animals were treated for 3 months, either with a control or with Ta65. On the y-axis, you see telomere length measured in kilobases. 1 kilobase equals 1,000 base pairs of DNA, so higher values mean longer telomeres. The N values, for example, N equals 15, show how many animals were tested in each group. This tells us how big the sample size was. If we look at panels A and C, the mean telomere length isn't significantly different between the control and the Ta65 groups. P-values of 0.59 and 0.37 mean the difference is not statistically significant. However, the real story appears in panels B and D, which show the percentage of the shortest telomeres, those under 2, 3, or 4 kilobases long. Here, the p-values are extremely small, less than 0.001, indicating a statistically significant reduction in very short telomeres for the Ta65 group. Quick note, a p-value of less than 0.05 is considered statistically significant. This means that while the average telomere length didn't change much, the number of critically short telomeres dropped dramatically with Ta65 treatment. That's important because very short telomeres are the ones most likely to trigger cellular aging and dysfunction. In summary, Ta65 didn't make all telomeres longer, but it helped maintain telomere integrity by reducing the population of shortest telomeres. The low p-values show these effects are unlikely to be due to chance, and a consistent pattern across both age groups strengthens the finding. So the takeaway, Ta65 may not extend telomeres on average, but it seems to protect cells from telomere shortening stress, potentially supporting healthier aging. While the study did not show an extension of lifespan in mice, it did demonstrate an improvement in health span, which suggests a slowing of the cellular aging process. Now let's take a look at the table showing how Ta65 affected several blood and immune markers in 1-year-old and 2-year-old mice. The table compares control mice and Ta65 treated mice in two age groups, 1-year-old and 2-year-old. Each column lists standard blood and immune variables, things like WBC for white blood cells, RBC for red blood cells, HGB for hemoglobin, and HCT for hematocrit. These are all important indicators of immune health, oxygen transport, and overall vitality. The t-test column shows whether differences between the groups were statistically significant. When you see NS, it means not significant. When you see an asterisk, that indicates a meaningful difference, usually with a p-value less than 0.05, meaning the result is unlikely due to chance. In the 1-year-old mice, there weren't any major changes between the control and the Ta65 groups. Most differences were not significant. But things get more interesting in the 2-year-old mice, which are essentially the older group in the study. Here we see several statistically significant improvements. RBC, or red blood cell count, was higher in the TA65 group. Hemoglobin and hematocrit, both measures of oxygen carrying capacity, also increased significantly. Platelet count, PLT, nearly doubled compared to controls. Together, these results suggest that TA65 may help maintain or restore aspects of blood health that typically decline with age. Interestingly, white blood cell counts, WBC, were actually lower in TA65 mice. This could indicate reduced chronic inflammation or reduced immune overactivation, both of which tend to increase with aging. Even though lifespan wasn't extended, these blood and immune changes point towards better physiological resilience. Essentially, the mice stayed biologically younger. That's why researchers conclude that TA65 supports health span, the quality and functionality of life, rather than just increasing the number of years lived. Earlier, we discussed that excess telomerase is often found in tumors and cancer. In this study, crucially, no statistical significant increase in cancer incidence was observed in TA65-treated mice, addressing a major theoretical concern that activating telomerase could promote tumor growth. Cancer cells often hijack telomerase to become biologically immortal, but this process involves multiple gene mutations, not simply increased telomerase activity. TA65 appears to elevate telomerase only within normal regulatory bounds, alleviating these concerns. The study states, to address whether TA65 supplemented diet had an undesirable long-term side effects, we performed a pathological analysis of all female mice under treatment and controls at the time of death. We observed that TA65-treated mice presented a similar incidence of malignant cancers at the time of death, with a tendency to show decreased sarcomas and slightly increased lymphomas. Moreover, although we observed an increased incidence of cancer in the liver of TA65-treated mice, where TA65 treatment resulted in a 10-fold increase in TERT expression, TERT, these values were not significant compared to the untreated situation. Although these results support TA65 not increasing the incidence of cancer in the study, I still prefer the safety of using whole herb Astragalus extracts rather than an isolated compound like TA65. Whole herb formulations provide balancing phytochemicals that enhance immune surveillance and inhibit tumor formation, helping prevent the very mutations that lead to cancer in the first place. Furthermore, a whole herb extract will not create the high elevations of telomerase achieved in the study, which is a safer approach in my opinion. If you remember from earlier, I mentioned that cycloastragenol is part of the astragenol compound class, which has poor water solubility, meaning that Astragalus tea provides only small amounts of these compounds. In my view, this is a benefit. This creates a mild increase in telomerase, which potentiates anti-aging benefits without risking excessively elevated telomerase. Alcoholic tinctures, on the other hand, another preferred method of herb intake for me, extracts higher levels of cycloastragenol and astragalosides, offering stronger telomerase effects, and thus should be consumed for shorter periods of time and with more caution. Finally, standardized extracts like TA65 are even more powerful for raising telomerase and should be approached carefully and under supervision from a qualified professional. The second major physiological benefit of Astragalus are its immunomodulatory properties. In traditional Chinese medicine, Astragalus is categorized as a qi tonic, used to strengthen life energy and improve resistance to disease. Modern research has validated these ancient observations. It shows Astragalus truly modulates the immune system, not just stimulating it, but balancing it. Here's a quick summary of what studies have found. Boosts immune cell production. Astragalus helps key immune cells like T cells, B cells, natural killer cells, and monocytes mature and migrate effectively to target tissues. Restores aging immunity. In elderly models, Astragalus revitalizes T cell activity and antibody production, restoring them to a more youthful state. Balances Th1 and Th2 cytokines, which are responsible for autoimmunity and allergic reactions. This balance prevents both autoimmune overactivity and allergic overreactions. It also supports bone marrow. It helps maintain a healthy bone marrow microenvironment, which produces white blood cells even under stress or during chemotherapy. The takeaway? Astragalus doesn't just boost immunity, it keeps it balanced, resilient, and youthful. Third benefit, anti-tumor activity. Astragalus extracts have demonstrated a dose-dependent inhibition of tumor cell proliferation and invasion, particularly in digestive system cancers. In hepatocellular carcinoma, liver cancer cells, Astragalus combined with the Chinese herb danshen suppress tumor invasion by modulating transforming growth factor beta SMAD signaling, a cell growth regulating pathway. Clinical studies in animal models also show efficacy against lung, renal, and bladder cancer. Astragalus-based formulas have also improved chemotherapy effectiveness and reduced toxicity in over 2,800 patients with advanced non-small cell lung cancer. Its anti-tumor mechanism is primarily linked to immune regulation, including activation of phagocytes and lymphokine-activated killer cells. Just a quick note. Astragalus is not a treatment for cancer, and anyone concerned about cancer should seek professional medical guidance. That said, research shows astragalus possesses anti-cancer properties, making it a valuable preventative addition to a longevity-focused routine. These benefits further reinforce its role as an herb that supports health span, helping you stay resilient, healthy, and thriving as you age. 4. Regulation of blood glucose and lipids. Astragalus has been shown to support healthy metabolic function by improving several key markers related to blood sugar, lipid metabolism, and inflammation. Here's how it helps regulate these systems. Reduces fasting and postprandial glucose. Astragalus helps lower blood sugar levels both after fasting and after meals. Postprandial glucose refers to your blood sugar level measured 1 to 2 hours after eating, a critical time for assessing how efficiently your body processes carbohydrates. Improves oral glucose tolerance. Astragalus helps the body handle sugar more effectively. In an oral glucose tolerance test, a person drinks a measured sweet solution and blood sugar levels are monitored at regular intervals over a few hours. Improved results show that the body's insulin response and blood sugar regulation are functioning efficiently. Decreased glycated serum proteins. High blood sugar can cause glucose molecules to bind to proteins in the blood, forming glycated proteins. Lower levels of these compounds reflect better long-term blood sugar control and reduce cellular damage from glycation. Astragalus also lowers insulin, C-peptide, and HOMA-IR indices. Astragalus can help reduce elevated insulin and C-peptide levels, a marker of insulin production, and improve HOMA-IR, an indicator of insulin resistance. These effects collectively point to enhanced insulin sensitivity and more efficient blood sugar regulation. Improves blood lipid profiles and liver morphology. Research shows astragalus can help balance cholesterol and triglyceride levels while supporting healthy liver structure and function, important for metabolic health and detoxification. Reduces inflammatory markers associated with diabetes. Chronic inflammation plays a major role in insulin resistance and metabolic dysfunction. Astragalus helps lower inflammatory molecules, reducing the stress and damage caused by ongoing inflammation. Positively modulates the gut microbiome. A healthy gut microbiome is central to metabolic regulation. Astragalus promotes beneficial bacteria, which in turn support better digestion, glucose metabolism, and immune balance. In short, astragalus is a multifaceted tool for metabolic health. And finally, 5. Neuroprotective effects. In my view, neuroprotection is one of the most vital pillars of longevity. Extending lifespan and maintaining physical ability mean little if the mind begins to fade. That's why I place special emphasis on longevity interventions that also safeguard the brain. Compounds and practices that enhance cognitive resilience, preserve neuronal health, and support overall brain function deserve particular recognition, because they help ensure that the extra years we gain remain not just longer, but richer, clearer, and mentally alive. Studies show astragalus can help reverse memory impairment, protect neurons from amyloid beta toxicity, a key marker of Alzheimer's brain damage, and preserve synapses in Alzheimer's-like models. It also increases M-cholinergic receptor density, receptors critical for focus, learning, and memory, in key brain areas like the cortex and the hippocampus. Astragalus, in other words, doesn't just help you live longer, it helps you stay sharp while you do it. Forms and how to take it. Here's a quick guide to the main astragalus options on the market. First, TA65, a purified extract rich in cycloastragenol. Very potent, but should be used with caution. Daily dosage is 25 to 50 milligrams. Astrogen, a commercial blend of astragalus and ginseng used in energy drinks and sports supplements. This extract is 60% alcohol and 40% water-based, so it is balanced and full spectrum, but still very strong. Daily dosage, again, is 25 to 50 milligrams. Whole herb, my preferred form. Available as powders, granules, or raw roots. Whole herb preparations provide broad, balanced effects and is the safest for long-term use. Typical dosage 1 to 3 grams daily. Personally, I consume 1 to 3 grams of astragalus tea 3 times per week for general immune and longevity support. Cautions. Because astragalus stimulates immune function, it may exacerbate autoimmune conditions or interfere with immunosuppressive medications. Individuals with autoimmune diseases or those taking prescription medications should consult a healthcare provider before using astragalus or any herbal supplement. Also, although not conclusive, be aware that raising telomerase activity too high may have negative impacts over a long-term horizon. Taking concentrated extracts can lead to this situation occurring. Again, this is why I prefer the whole herb as a tea. Drinking astragalus tea has been the primary method of consumption for the last 2,000 years and limits the intake of telomerase-raising sapponins. Final thoughts. When used wisely, astragalus offers a rare combination of immune balance, metabolic harmony, and cellular longevity. By protecting telomeres, modulating immunity, and reducing inflammation, it may help not just lifespan, but health span, the number of years we live with energy, clarity, and vitality. This modern understanding of astragalus builds directly on thousands of years of traditional use. Ancient practitioners in China and beyond recognized its ability to strengthen vitality, support resilience, and promote longevity. Observations now supported by modern science. By combining the wisdom of the past with contemporary research, we can appreciate why astragalus earned the title Herb of Immortality and how it can serve as a meaningful ally in our pursuit of long, healthy lives. But as always, herbs work best on a strong foundation, a nutrient-rich diet, daily movement, clean water, and low stress. Astragalus isn't a magic bullet. It's a powerful tool in a larger journey towards long-term health and vitality. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.